What's up, everybody? Welcome to the PixelPlay Podcast. My name is Adam, aka CS Radical, joined as always by Kaylan, aka Catastrophe, and he's not here.
Don't worry, I can fill in the gap for him. Hey guys, I agree on everything. The good points are made on both sides.
And then
Final
when
Fantasy.
you're not here next week, Chris can be like, Last of Us is great, Splinter Cell, please make another one, and then that'll be the entire thing.
Yeah, I want Chris next week to make a imitation or impression of me.
That's all we need. But yeah, we're gonna talk about a bunch of things. The Game Awards, we're gonna talk about the Game of the Year thing. We are gonna do a full predictions episode when all three of us are together, but we're gonna at least talk about the Game of the Year category because, well, it's not like that's a point of contention at any point. You probably want to get around that, when it's first fresh and new. We are also gonna talk about, obviously, Steam decided to just be like, you know what? This whole, doing one thing at a time, too boring. Let's just do a bunch all at once. So we're going to talk about all the fine stuff that they've been talking about. And, we've got to talk about what we've been playing. Kaylan, I'll let you start because...
You know exactly what I'm going to say.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm not gonna dwell too much on it. I'm still Ghost of Yote, burning through that, loving it.
Have you figured out
Basically,
Chapter 4 suddenly comes in? Because I still can't believe...
I haven't gotten to Chapter 2. I'm still in this world.
chapter to this game.
Yeah, it is so weirdly paced. Yeah, overall, really liking it still, living my samurai dreams. I'm now playing. One thing I'm really starting to appreciate in this game is the flexibility that it has in terms of able to switch out your characters. So, I initially was playing as, a John Wick style, picking up things, throwing at people, doing that kind of stuff. I pivoted over to stealth. I built a stealth build. And then I switched over to playing as full as, the, what's it called? Orneo or whatever, however you pronounce it. Then I turned that John Wick build into a Terrify build, so I'm doing John Wick meets it's just really cool how the charms work, and it's quickly and easy to have different loadeds of I feel like playing against super stealthy right now, done. I feel like playing really aggressive. It's easy to kind of change your build and switch the game up in a heartbeat, and I think that's something that just kind of started clicking with me now, and I really appreciate that in the game. Probably going to talk about my full review, and I want to see where the story goes. The one issue I have with the story is that it's very cookie cutter in the sense that it repeats the same thing. And every time you do a mission, you're like, oh, we're going to go after this, one of the Yote 6. Oh no, the mission went wrong. They got away. We'll get them on the next time. And it happens every single time that I'm getting to the point where it's all right, yep, we're going to get the Yote 6.
It sounds
oh,
right
look
based
at
on
that.
my experience with Tsushima as well, which is the same reason why I dropped both that and Yote. It's just the gameplay's fun, but at some point, I can only play the same loop so many times, and the story is literally the same loop so many times too.
Yeah, and that's not to say it's bad. I am enjoying the narrative, but it is predictable in the sense that it each of the Yote 6 seems to follow that same sort of narrative arc.
Sure.
Each one is different, and they all have their own little side stories and stuff, but it's very much it feels like a paint by numbers with each of the Yote 6 with just different colors, but you're still using the same paint by numbers pattern.
And I think also that would have been able to be a lot more sustainable for the average player if it wasn't a much longer game. If this was let's say a 20-25 hour experience, I think you could definitely justify that a little bit more. But when the game is taking you to the 40-hour mark, depending on how much you're clearing the maps, I think that's where you get into that age of you're going to easily burn people out if you're not keeping them engaged.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say because I am going through everything that it probably feels repetitive. Whereas someone I know you can burn through the game in 16 hours and maybe it feels a little bit more fresh, but it kind of feels like the developer just kind of doesn't know whether it wants it to be a 15-hour game or a 40-hour game because it seems like it built both.
Yeah, and I think it's a whole argument in itself too of I know that the how long to actually let me go pull up the how long to beat just so I can confirm. So Ghost of Yote, it is okay. So it's 27 for the main, and then 44 for main and sides, 58 for full completion. The idea of going from 27 to say you're dropping 15 hours, what does that mean exactly? And the answer really is don't clear the maps. To which I go, why are you then putting that there if it's so unimportant? That's the argument that I've had with a lot of open world games in general as of late. It's look, if you're going to put all of this map here, I'm going to want to know what's there. But if there's nothing there, then that's another 30 minutes gone. And then I come back and it's yeah, sure, I could have just gone through story missions and not looked everywhere around. But like, then what am I playing? I'm literally just playing an open world game where I'm not playing the open world. Like, what is that?
You're playing a linear game with a bunch of filler in between.
Yeah, like you're basically playing the game with the intention of not playing the game as it's designed. Because the game is designed for you to explore. If you go out of your way to not explore, are you really actually playing Ghosts of Yote?
And that's the thing. The game is so beautifully done that I want to see it all. Like, I don't like. There's some content there. Like, I did one of the legends, and I recommend if you're playing Ghost of Yote and you come across like the legends and the stories aspect, do those. Those are so far have been my favorite part of content, where it's like a little side mission that has its own little like closed-in story. And that's
are you talking like the bounties of like the legendary guys? Are you talking like the people that teach you?
No. There's like a whole second category where like. Typically at like the end of a map and it takes you into like a small world and it's like a small little story. There's a guy, I don't know his name, but he's like a newspaper reporter and he's like making stories or like writing like these fables, and you go and live these fables out and like get the story for him. So
maybe I didn't come across that. Did that happen in the Oni area?
No,
and that's probably why.
Okay,
did. So I probably just never got to an area that had it.
Yeah, so typically like it's off to the side towards like the bottom of the map, like tucked away in a corner. Like it's basically at the end of the map, but once you get there, it kind of transports you to another one. And so far, those have been my favorite aspects because it's usually like a small truncated myth or legend, and usually rewards you with some sort of good like loot. So whether it's a new type of armor or a new weapon, those have been my favorite parts of this game.
Yeah, I don't think I ever came across any of those before I dropped it. So
yeah. No, I'm really enjoying those. So, but once again, just encourages that exploration, but there's also a lot of filler in between.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Adam? What have you been playing?
So I'll probably get back to Bloodlines 2, but Dispatch fully came out. So whatever I had going stopped. I mean,
What is Dispatch? I've heard a lot about this. What is Dispatch?
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. I just wanted to finish my little preamble.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because you know how I like to rant. Bloodline. I probably could have gotten more time in Bloodlines 2. I will say, distractions have made me not as interested in it. Although I'm sure I'll finish it at some point. Hades 2. I'm also just desperately trying to fucking finish. Despite my best efforts, the game is still going RNG. Absolutely not. You still have to do more runs. I'm like, game. I'm on like day 70. Please, I can only do this loop so many times. Just give me the end, please. And it's like, no, you have to do
We're
more.
not done with you.
Thank God I can just use it as a podcast game now, because I know how to basically just, for the most part, break it and just keep going my way through it. So it's like, okay, fine. I'll do it when I have the chance to. But Dispatch finally came out, and I literally full cleared it in one day on Sunday. It's basically like 10 hours straight.
Nice.
Dispatch, for those who are not 100% sure of what's going on with that, essentially it's like almost like a 911 operator style game that works in the confines of a Telltale, like a visual novel, like choose your own adventure game, where instead of a 911 operator, you're essentially like a dispatch operator for superheroes. So like you're throwing Captain America out into the wilderness to stop something, essentially. Except, of course, because we can't just have you having actually like good superheroes, they're all like basically Suicide Squad villains that have been repurposed. So they're all fucking terrible. They're all pieces of shit that are, you're trying to like get to, not be assholes to everybody at all times. And that's kind of the story through there. At first I was a little unsure because like I did like the little bits that they start off with, and the characters that they kind of give you, I'm like, they all kind of seem not as interesting as I'd like them to be. And by about episode 4, but as we neared like the halfway point, I'm like, nah, never mind. I like all these people. We're good. We're good. So essentially, in like anybody watching the video version right now, like you'll get these timed events where you have to click, and it'll tell you a brief description of like what you're expected to do. So like on the screen right now, it says you'll want to climb a tree to retrieve a balloon. So you got to find somebody whose skill set, whether it's you get several stats. I think it's combat for like attack power, basically, vigor, which is defense, mobility, which is speed, charisma, which is, well, charisma, I don't think I need to explain that one, and intelligence, which is essentially like, I guess it's really like I wanted to say magic, but that doesn't really apply here. But really it's like attack, defense, speed, charisma, intelligence is really what you're looking at. So in this case, you'll probably want somebody with good mobility. So you throw them in there. Then another one will come up. Oh, we need somebody that needs to interrogate someone. You need someone that can really talk to them. So you want the charisma person. And then sometimes it'll be like a much bigger one where it'll say, hey, you're going to have to fight, but you'll want to get there quick. And you might have to, you might have to hold the line a little bit. And there's 3 people. So you'll want like a collection of people that get you a good like spread of attack, defense, and speed. So that way you can do your best to complete the mission. You can't always automatically win it if you just oversee the expectations of its stat requirements. So like say for example, as I've learned going forward, like say the mission ends up asking for a combat value of 6 and a speed value of 3, and then everything else is 1, which means it doesn't matter. So like you just need somebody that has that collection of stats, or maybe it's just one character. If you do that, it's an automatic 100% you win. But let's say you put in somebody who has 5 combat and 2 mobility. So it's not a guarantee. So maybe it pops up as like 72%. So it's almost like an XCOM. You roll the dice and hope that you get the outcome where that 72% square works in your favor. And generally speaking, as long as because you will be able to rank up your characters and give them stats, you'll be able to probably do enough that you'll max out your dispatch stat by the end of the entire 8 episodes. I finished it, I think it was like episode 5 or 6. So like I had plenty of time. So it wasn't necessarily an issue. My one complaint with the way that they set this whole thing up is I think sometimes, and it's probably by design, I'm imagining like that you can't always just win every single time. Some of them is just you don't get enough time to react to them. So like if you don't get to them right away, and sometimes because there's a rest counter that you have to wait for when people finish a mission before you can send them back out, you may just not have anybody that's able to do it. And while I imagine that is by design, it can get frustrating when you're like, I didn't even have a chance. Like I couldn't even do anything to get that one going. And it might have been something important. You never know. Because you don't really know at the time if that's going to count for anything when the game comes to an end. The other part is I do like that you can rank up people to fit your needs. I do, however, think that, and maybe because I do feel like the decisions at the end of the game does say everyone will remember this, so it seems like there's the intention down the line that there's another game somewhere that maybe incorporates more of this. Maybe the stats carry on as the game goes to its second version, and maybe all their stats will go through and maybe you get a little bit further. I don't like the fact that it felt to me like you basically just go, okay, you're my mobility person and everything else can wait. You're my combat guy and everything else can wait. I don't feel like I was able to get like a well-rounded person. Like there was no point in getting the person that's like 5s out of 10 across the board. It's either you're 8 or 9 in this and I'll worry about everything else later because I need you for that. Because eventually it gets to the point where you just team a couple of guys together and you'll be fine. So
you're like min-maxing everybody.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I had like a choice. For like you have a choice, but you also kind of need to go with what's optimal. So it's a little bit frustrating in that aspect. But again, that's like a small point in all things considered, because realistically, that part of the gameplay is playing massive second fiddle to what's the story, which to me is the much more important thing, which I think is honestly, like, I'm annoyed that it's not getting a Best Narrative nomination because it deserves it and probably should win it, in my opinion. And that's saying something when Claire Obscure's on the board. But I think Dispatch is a tremendously good story and reminds me what Telltale games used to actually fucking be like, where choices meant something, and also it was entertaining the entire way through, not like what later Telltale games were, where it was just, oh, this is just a lot of nothing leading to the one decision that actually matters. Where, like, to me, if I put this up next to like the first Walking Dead Telltale game, I actually think that's on par. It's just Telltale's Walking Dead is more of a, stress and, depression, like sort of like The Last of Us in terms of its storytelling, where it's bleak as shit. This one is more, it is Marvel, like, action comedy with a little bit of like stakes towards the end kind of deal. But it's like, it's very fucking, I was smiling ear to ear the entire time. It's very goddamn funny. And they don't pull punches. Like, there's a lot of swearing. There's a lot of violence. There's even, the developer was actually saying that they're kind of disappointed they didn't cut some of the sex scenes they intended for it. Because honestly, like, the game is extremely adult. And there's
Yeah.
one moment with one of the characters that comes out of left field that I'm like, oh, okay. But then you kind of realize, oh, yeah, no, it kind of actually seems like a thing that would happen. And the fact that they shied away from continuing on like the sexual nature of it is kind of disappointing because they actually, I think, did what they did with the one character actually pretty tastefully and in a sensible way that actually was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I can see that. I don't feel like that was forced. So, like, I think they did everything really well on that front, and I'm going to give it the 10, which also, I had a lot of people give me shit about this in another Discord group. It was like, you really think that's a 10? Like, that's not a perfect game. To which I go, yeah, I know. Nothing's perfect. If I had to give a perfect game a 10 out of 10, I'd never give a 10 in my life. 10 just means this is one of my favorite games all year. But, like, this is definitely... I thought I had my top 3 picked. Dispatch just come along and made me go, son of a bitch, I gotta kick something out of this top 3 now. And I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I think I'm already torn at 4 games, and now this has made it 5. And I'm like, shit. I know my number 1, and I think that's almost a guarantee at this point. I have no clue what 2 and 3 is going to be by the time we hit the first episode of January when we do our annual awards. Because this game has put a wrench into that. I thought I was going to be like, this is pretty good. And you know what? I'll be like, like solid 8 or 9. And then by the end of the game, I went, I couldn't stop playing this game. I literally, apart from breaking for food and bathroom breaks, I did not stop. There was no point that I stopped this game. I just went 1 to 8, and I was happy.
How long did it take you to get through this game? Like,
10 is the time I use as a buffer, but I'm also thinking of like overall daytime. Let me just check to how long to beat. I want to say it's more like in the 8 to 9 range. Because it's basically an hour an episode for the most part.
Okay.
And that depends on if you're like taking your time listening to the dialogue and whatever else. If you're rushing a little bit more, like you can probably finish it quicker. Yeah, how long to beat is saying about 8.5. So yeah, about an hour an episode is about the ideal setup. I'd say it's
cool.
I'd say any episode is anywhere between 45 and 60 minutes.
Cool. I feel like you've sold me on this. I think I'm going to give this one a try.
This one, honestly, yeah, and especially it's one that you don't have to like play. Like again, it's 45 to 60 minutes an episode. You could just pop on an episode whenever you have a second, and then come back to it, and you'd be fine.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say is either figure out what you want to like archetype your players as, or do what I do if you want to go real crazy. I had a goddamn Excel spreadsheet keeping an eye on all the stats of everybody, but eventually, I just got to a point where, like, I just decided, okay, like, for example, Invisigirl, I just decided really early, she's mobility, and I'll worry about the rest later. So by the time that the game was done, she was at 9 mobility. So, like, if there was ever a point where I needed, like, a solo, she was ready. She was ready for that. They do have, like, special abilities here and there that make it interesting, too. Like, her special ability is that if you send her on her own, she'll go faster. So, like, she'll go and come back quicker. There's another character that if you put her in the first, if say you have like a 3 or 4 range mission, if you put her in first, whoever's next to her, she'll make a copy of, and it'll be half that person's stats. So if you have nobody left, you can still put her in there, and she can take half of that of that other person, and at least give you like a third option that's giving you some sort of extra stat boost. So, like, there's stuff like that that makes it interesting. They do also have pairing synergies. There's only 4 of them, so you'll learn them pretty quick once you figure them out. I mean, story-wise, you'll figure them mostly out anyway. But yeah, like, it's not too complicated. Like I said, the only real frustration is you'll eventually get to a point, and I think it is by design, that you'll just not be able to do everything and not be able to do it effectively well. Because there's eventually a case where you got nobody, and you just send them in with about 40% and hope to God they can get lucky and do it. And you just assume you're going to lose that one. But, like, for the most part, like I said, like, the only reason that you'll want to finish them all is just to rank up your character, because you do get bonuses every rank up. And it's just 3 of them. One of them means you can take someone out of rest right away. They don't have to finish their full bar. One of them means you can take them off of injury, because anytime you fail, they get an injury. And then if they get injured a second time, they get downed. And then that third upgrade is to take them off of down status. So, like, it's not like, you know, it doesn't deal with the ending if you don't full rank or anything. That doesn't matter. It's literally just to help the gameplay flow. But, like, it's all inconsequential by the end of it, because the story is really what holds it true. And it's fantastic. All the characters are really well done. Some of the voice dialogue in this game is also very, very good. Aaron Paul is the main character. He's pretty fantastic in that. Invisigal's pretty good. There's the blonde blazer who is like another romantic interest that's not part of your staff that you sent out. She's more of like your boss. She was really good. The main villain Shroud was really good. Even the side characters, like there's a couple of side characters that I'm like, I wish I could deal with you more. Like you're fucking hilarious. I love you. Like there's just certain people that, you know, it's like one of those games too that like it doesn't matter whether they're a main or like a very minor like NPC. They're all fucking great. Like I don't really have a person that I think I'd say I'd hate even. Like I'm trying to think off the top of my head of who's like the weakest to me. And it's maybe shit, I actually don't know who it is. I think it might be Sonar, who is this like bat who is, I think he's like a Harvard graduate, so he has two forms. His special ability also is that he transforms every time you send him out on a mission. So he starts out as like lawyer, attorney at law like setup, and he's all intelligence and charisma. The second he comes back, he's now full bat and he's just all attack and defense. You have to also be careful of that. And like he's the closest I think to being a weaker character, but that's just because like he just doesn't get as much attention, I think. But like even then he's still funny because like they're all good. So realistically, if what you're going for is, I mean, I really can't say it better. If you missed what Telltale used to be, this is it.
Okay.
This is the best version of that we've gotten since I would say like the original Wolf Among Us.
Yeah. This looks honestly like a game I want to get and play on my like on the Portal.
Oh, that would be a perfect thing to play on the Portal.
Yeah. Cool.
It almost would have been my game of the year, but Blueprints is too damn good. I'm sorry I'm spoiling my number one, but I've been talking so much about Blueprints this entire year that I think it's kind of obvious at this point.
Yeah, it was.
But anyways.
But it's not on the Game Awards, though.
No, it's not. I have feelings about that if you can't tell. So
have at him. Get him. Go get Keely.
Well, I guess, you know, we'll just move right on to it. We'll talk about the Steam stuff in a little bit here, but the Game Awards came out with its nominees. Cloudflare tried really, really hard to make sure nobody could see it because for the last like 24 hours, the Game Awards website has been in a fucking frenzy. I think it's because in equal parts of people were trying to get on it early when the list went up yesterday, and then also Cloudflare went down, I think overnight or something, and it fucked up like half the internet for about like most of today as we're recording here on Tuesday. So I've been trying all day to like see the full list, and it didn't want to. And I also don't want to read IGN's list. I wanted to just vote for it perfectly, which, by the way, SideQuest on Friday will be exactly that. I did my full personal ballot. And yes, Kaylan, I did put Splinter Cell adaptation in there.
It's a secret ballot.
Please. Like my ballot's going to mean shit. But the Game of the Year list was what I was concerned with because I wanted to see what direction they took it in. And I gotta tell you, and it's probably me being an old fuddy-duddy and also being like, I'm not their market. I hate this list. I genuinely hate this list.
Why?
Because it's sequels. Apart from Expedition 33, it's sequels. I think Hades 2 deserves it. But apart from that one, I think I'm more annoyed, and I even said it in the side quest, I think I'm more annoyed that just all of these original ideas are not getting enough love because we're just going with the safe bets.
I hear you, and I don't disagree with you. I do think there's some that, like, while they have a 2 in the name, may not necessarily fall into that. Like, I think Kingdom Come Deliverance, like, yes, it's a sequel, but let's be real. Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 wasn't, like, a huge name that, like...
No. If I was going to be charitable, I think Hades 2 and Kingdom Come Deliverance have way more of a credence to being there than the other 3 sequels, essentially. And people say, well, Bonanza's not a sequel. Donkey Kong has been a long-standing series, and it's a Nintendo franchise. It's a sequel. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Yeah. Just because it doesn't look like any other Donkey Kong game.
But, I mean, I would argue, like, Hades has the cachet of, like, Hades 2 benefiting from the fact that it's following Hades 1, which was amazing.
Yeah. But I also have played Hades 2 and think it is one of the best games of the year, so I do kind of have that bias there.
Okay, fair.
But, like, I look at Bonanza and I go... I even jokingly said it's the Nintendo vote, and I do think there are better games than Bonanza on this.
Oh, agreed, fully.
Year. Death Stranding 2, I'm gonna take a lot of heat from this. Who the fuck's been talking about this game? Like, genuinely, somebody tell me who's been talking about this game. I follow a lot of circles. Sorry, Kayla, I didn't mean to. I follow a lot of circles.
Yeah.
Whether it's personal, whether it's subreddits, whether it's journalists, whether it's YouTube. I follow a lot of different channels. So when I say that I've not heard a fucking word about this game, I mean it. And it's not me saying in my very small niche circle of gamers, I've not heard about this. No, I literally mean whether it's the game subreddits that I follow, which is a lot of them, whether it's all these different YouTube channels and like your IGNs and stuff that I follow, I don't hear people talking about this game. I know it reviewed well. That I know. But apart from it being Kojima and Jeff Keighley being an item, I don't know where the conversation about Death Stranding being a Game of the Year nominee has come from. I think that's my frustration is I'm usually pretty in tune with what's going on, and I haven't heard a word about this game.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit of like Death Stranding 2. Like from what I've heard is it's a good game and it's an improvement on Death Stranding 1, but that's about it. Like, you know, if you like Death Stranding, you're going to like Death Stranding 2. But it doesn't change. Like, if you didn't like the first one, this is not going to win you over or anything. It's more.
Yeah. And then
it's the same. It's the same thing with like Ghost of Yotei. Like, I'd say Ghost of Yotei is great. It's a good game, but it's just a better, more version of Ghost of Tsushima. Does it deserve Game of the Year? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
But it's that same sort of thing. It's a good game that builds off of its predecessor.
And I mean, and the same thing goes with Silksong. Now, Silksong is a different thing because I mean, obviously the hype around that is insane. I understand why it has to be there because it's fucking Hollow Knight Silksong. I'm not stupid, guys. But most people that I have heard from about this game who are way into this game have said it's essentially standalone DLC.
Yeah.
And I'm still annoyed that Shadow of the Erdtree got a nominee last year.
I think for me, like from what I've heard of Silksong, and granted, I'm not the biggest like Hollow Knight fan. It just seems like it was hyped up more than than what it was when the result. Like people were more excited about the idea of it than the game itself. Mm-hmm. Like once again, it's just more and harder. Like I don't think people are saying this is better. I don't think this is anything that's like an amazing game. It's another Hollow Knight game. Like, cool. Yeah.
Like, I can understand Split Fiction for the same reason not getting a nominee, because apparently it's just another It Takes Two, which isn't really changing the mold much. So that's cool. So then why are other games that are just another version of something getting that thing? So, like, what's the threshold here? Because I look at what's currently, like, at near the top of Metacritic. If we're just looking at review score, who even cares about hype? Like, let's not think about that. Blueprints should fucking be there. And I'm not even saying that because I'm biased. I'm saying it should be there for the biggest reason of, like, it's an incredible game that's in the same thought of, like, Balatro, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting game that does something unique.
In the same way that I will also, now that I've finished Dispatch, I can understand it not getting it compared to other games, but again, like, it's for the same reason. It's like, I think, honestly, like I said from the beginning, I think I'm just really mad that a lot of safe bets are being made here and not taking a chance, because 3 out of the 6 are indie. So, like, they did that part right. The problem is I don't think they took any risks with those indie picks. And I don't even think that Blueprints would have been a risky pick. Because, like, Hollow Knight, Kingdom Come Deliverance, and Clair Obscur, I'm still on the fence of how that goes in terms of indie. As an indie game, sure, but it's also got a best debut indie game, which I'm not in agreement on, but that's another conversation right now. But, like, I think the way that I'm upset about these 6 nominees is not me being mad because they're not good games. I'm mad because I think they're just safe picks, and I don't like the fact that other teams are not getting the recognition for trying something else. Because this year, to me personally, sorry again interrupt.
No, no, it's fine.
This year for me, and I'll probably sum it up when we do our year-end awards too. This year for me has shown that I do not need to play the same fucking AAA slop anymore. I don't anymore. There are so many different ideas, and there's still many games that have come out this year that I haven't got to, like, say, Despelote, which is really interesting South American, Brazilian, not visual, I'm not saying it correctly, but sort of like a depiction, like a story depiction of being like poor in South America, and it has soccer vibes to it. It's not like a soccer sports game or anything. It's more of like a narrative game. But, like, it's given me the idea this year in 2025 that, like, I don't need to just play X action adventure game, X open world RPG, X shooter. Like, there are so many different experiences out there that don't require you to just play whatever the biggest, most hyped game is anymore. And I felt like for a little while the Game Awards wasn't being the Billboard Top 100 because that's usually the Golden Joystick's job.
Mm-hmm.
And now it feels like they're just being the Golden Joysticks award, but with more money.
Yeah. I think, like, talking about games that are, like, should be on there or not on there, I think one that kind of got snubbed, and I think it's because of where it landed. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Indiana Jones was
It got nominations, so you're
year.
right. So honestly, like that, I would have obviously put that too, because I know it's up for Best Action Adventure, which I did say should win.
But I don't know if necessarily it should win, but I definitely
no,
think
but
nomination.
Like, I mean, Best Action Adventure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it should win that category. But like,
yeah, and I think
terms of
there's an
Game of the
argument that
Year,
it should be.
I think there's a scenario
Think
where you
about
can
it,
put
though.
that in there.
Think about it, yeah, because like we heard Indiana Jones, and it was like, okay, cool. How do you do an Indiana Jones game that's not just Uncharted or Tomb Raider, right? Like we have those already, and then they're like, oh, it's a first person, and we're like, what? How the hell do you do a first person Indiana Jones game? They knocked it out of the park, right? Troy Baker came and was convincing as Harrison. Like everything went well in that game. That like it could have. There's a conversation to be had that Indiana Jones should be a contender for Game of the Year.
Yeah,
whether
like
it should win, I don't know, but I think it definitely has merits for that argument. More so than Donkey Kong Bonanza.
yeah. I mean, look, like people will say, well, Donkey Kong Bonanza is the 7th game on Metacritic, and well, the top one is just it's just the couple of Zeldas that have already come out. I'm like, okay, fine. So like, if we're looking at just Metacritic alone, yeah, Donkey Kong Bonanza theoretically should be, but that's not what this is. This isn't the Billboard Top 100. And again, like from my perspective, I really don't want the Game Awards to just be here's the top industry games. I don't want that. I really have an expectation with Jeff Keighley with the way that he has been apparently the place for inclusion, the place for actually taking a stand on certain things that the industry does, but then turns around and just goes with the popular stuff left and right. That also kind of irks me in the sense of like, dude, like you can't have it both ways. He's trying to get his cake and eat it too, and that's kind of annoying me. But I think, again, it just goes back to what I said. I'm getting real tired of the same people getting the recognition. I'm not saying Death Stranding 2 isn't a great game, but does Kojima need any more accolades? Does he need any more Jeff Keighley jerk-offs, right? Does he?
What fuels him.
Does Nintendo need another nomination? Like, if anything, Xbox, there was a great, I can't remember what the entirety of that picture was, but somebody did an image of all of the Game of the Year nominations every year, and how many of them were Sony, Nintendo, and Xbox ones. And Xbox has had one nomination. Sony and
Forza?
Nintendo have had a shitload. You will never guess what the Xbox nomination was. You never will. There's no shot.
Can you give me a year?
Let me double check.
Give me a ballpark. No, just give me a generation. What generation?
I don't even. I'll have to check what year it came out. That's the key here. That game came out in 2021.
2021. It's not 2021. Yeah, so like that's early console. It's not Rise. It's not. And it was up for Game of the Year?
Yep.
I want to say like Flight Simulator. Like what was it?
Psychonauts 2.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
That's the only Xbox game that's gotten a nomination. Indiana Jones should have been in second, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Agreed. Yeah.
And like Nintendo, like you look like the image that it showed, like Nintendo and Sony almost basically have one every year, and it's like, do they need one? I don't think we always need to give the same people some light here. It's why like I immediately just said Split Fiction was going to get a nominee, because it seems like Josef Fares always gets his flowers for that award. So like the fact that when we're creating what we think is the nominations are going to be, and we're going like, well, Jeff Keighley always gives them this. That shouldn't be what our perspective is. Like, we just went in going, well, yeah, Kojima. Well, yeah, Nintendo. Well, yeah, Josef Fares. That shouldn't be our first thought of why something goes in. It should just be, yeah, no, that game was fantastic. It deserves that.
I think, like, playing devil's advocate, and I hear you, and I don't say I don't disagree with you, but I think that there's an opposite argument that it goes too far into like Oscar territory, where it's like, here's a bunch of obscure stuff that you've never heard of, and then people are like, well, I don't know any of this, so why do I care, right? So like, I'm not saying,
but I would say to that logic,
that's the tightrope he's on.
We haven't gone the opposite way towards the Oscars, because name me one game that's on that list that you aren't surprised is on that list.
No, I agree. Like I said, I don't disagree with you.
Like they're all safe bets. Like we know Expedition's going to win. Like if they do not break the record for the most wins, I will be shocked. I plan when we do the stream to have a counter on the graphic that I have that will have how many out of the 12 nominations they have won. That will be part of the graphic I will put the entire show.
Adam, I want to put some extra homework on you. I need you, when you're making this stream, I need you to make an audio so it counts in French. It'd be like, duh.
That's not something that I'm going to be able to do in OBS without like having to have a soundboard, and that is way more work than I should have to do.
You're not committed enough, I tell you.
No, I'm definitely not. But like, it's just like Expedition. Of course it is. Like, who was going to say it wasn't?
I could see either Hades or Hollow Knight taking it. Like, just to be the upset, because like there's been a shift and there's been a bit of like a turn on Expedition 33.
Out of the 6, the only one that I will accept winning outside of Expedition 33, and remember, I'm saying this is someone who gave Expedition an 8.
Yeah.
The only game that I will give the exception to is Hades 2. If Silksong wins it, I will know that this is now the Billboard Top 100, and it's just all about hype and popularity. Because Silksong should not. Silksong, in my opinion, shouldn't be a nominee because I don't think it's enough to be considered of that. It's for the same reason that, like, why the fuck is GTA 6 on the most anticipated game list again? You don't get a nomination because you delayed your game. That's not how this works. Like, they're going to take an award away from either First Light or Wolverine because of this, and that's bullshit. Like, it's little things like that irk me.
Yeah.
But, you know, as a whole, like, look, am I sitting here saying that any of the 6 games that were nominated just, like, don't deserve it? No. They're all good games. What I am saying is if I was running this ship, I would try to use my fucking platform to give way lesser known creators that platform. It's why I was very surprised that Balatro did as well as it did. I'm very surprised that Metaphor Fantasio did as well as it did. Because my expectation going into the Game Awards was that Final Fantasy Rebirth was going to get all its flowers because no one would shut up about it, and Square Enix is the king. Instead, Metaphor won Best RPG, and in my opinion, probably finished third to Balatro's second to Astrobot's first for Game of the Year. So, I feel like they had the opportunity this year because there's been so much good out of the ordinary content that they could have put up there, and they gaffed on it. They punted wide.
Adam, one thing I just want to like bring up though is like, could it be in how the nomination process is selected? Because I think the Game Awards, how it works is that like I'm just looking on here on like the epicgames.com, and they're saying like the nominees of the Game Awards are selected by a global jury of more than 150 media publications and creator outlets. We didn't get our invite, by the way, Jeff. What the hell?
Yeah, of course, right?
But like the idea might be that like there's just that because they're popular, right? Like everyone, you know, has played those games. Everyone's played Silksong. Everyone's played Expedition 33, but not everyone may have played like Dispatch or, you know, Blueprints or something like that. So there's an aspect of like they may not be everyone's first choice, but they might be on that top 3 or top 6. That it's not because that like it's just an aspect that it's on so many people's lists because everyone's played it, whereas a smaller group have played those smaller games.
And I think again that's where my issue comes into play, which is like it shouldn't just be who's played this game the most.
Well, I don't even think it's who's played it the most, but rather just like...
Well, like who out of this 150, let's say, did they all play this game and did they like it? Like if, let's say, 50 of them played Blueprints, but 100 of them played Silksong. Well, yeah, Silksong's going to probably get more votes just off of that metric, right?
Well, I'm just saying in the sense of like if I were to say, you know, name me your top 5 movies, right? Like... you're gonna see the typical like big names that we've all seen. Like we've all seen Avengers, we've all seen like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, that kind of stuff. But we each have those like small little pockets of like the weird movies that like we saw that weren't super popular, that they get a vote here and there for the people who did play it or who did watch it, but there's just not enough people in the community that did it that it gets to get a vote in, right? So like Blueprints, for example, if you have 150 outlets and 50 of them played it, but 150 played Death Stranding, you have 150 people putting Death Stranding, even if it's at number 6, but you only have 50 people putting Blueprints at, let's say, number 1.
Yeah, like that's where I get to the point of like, okay, well then there needs to be some sort of a middle ground here, because it can't just be like how when people vote for, because again, we're talking about like, let's say with how baseball just put out its MVP awards, and like, okay, well they vote on a ranked ballot, but they all see every single one of these players, so they know this isn't that. So like, it shouldn't just be based off of, well, if 100 people voted in total for this, but only 50 people voted for this, just the nature of 100 overall votes are probably going to counter, even if 50 gets like mostly 1, 2s, and 3s. Like, to me, that should be a case of like, take like, let's say the top 10, maybe 12 that come from this in terms of ranked votes, and then actually sit on that. And then I don't know what their process fully is, but like, if I was doing that and we sent out like to 150 friends, hey, give us your PixelPlay top 3, and we get, you know, obviously like a bunch of games. We shouldn't just be taking the top 3 based off of rank voting. We should take like a much larger list and then go, okay, well, which out of these do we actually think like, you know, does certain things? I think I'm just going way too far than it needs to be, just because like I want things to go in a certain way. But like, if I got a list that said those 6 games as they nominated, my first thought would be like, 5 of them are sequels. Should we try to at least like give a little more room to stuff?
I think, but what I'm saying is, I think it probably did, but it just didn't make the count. Like, I think if I were to,
I'm not disagreeing. I just don't like it.
I think I have the solution. I think if I was running this, how I would do it is you give each outlet, each jury member, whatever, a certain amount of points, right? So you get, instead of having, you know, name your top 6 or your top 10, you get 10 points, right? So like, you can give it to 1 game, you can give it to 3 games, you can give it to 2 games, right? So I might put Blueprints as my only game and give it a full 10 points, and then give it that boost where I say like, I don't need to put anything else because that is my game of the year, and then it gets put into like the larger nomination pool. Whereas if I want to put more games on there, I give less points to each one. So I might say, hey, I'm going to give 6 points to Blueprints, and I'm going to give 3 points to Expedition 33, and 1 point to Silksong, right? So that way you can give more voice, like you can give more of a push to that one game that may not get the push from as many people, right? But by saying we need you to fill out 6, it's going to have a natural bias that it's going to bring in ones that may not need to be there because just of how many people are putting that on, right?
Yeah, it's a finicky thing. And again, like, I'm more just taking umbrage because it's not what I would do. I'm not going to be like, at the end of this, it's still an award show. I don't care nearly as much. Like, I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of people that when, you know, their game doesn't win an award for something, like, they're going to get pissed off. I'm more just going to be like, it could have been something cool, but I'm going to, like, it's not going to bother me that much. I just look at this and I go, similar to, like, how, like, look, Astrobot was a great game. It was a safe choice. It should not have won. I think, like, that was just the safer choice compared to, like, I truly believe in my heart of hearts that Bellatra got snubbed. Because I do think that it was literally the game changer of the year beyond just being the best game of the year. Like, it's really changed how a lot of people looked at the indie industry.
Yeah.
I do think that counts for something. And I think Astrobot, which is just Mario, but a different coat of paint, and I know some people are going to hate that sound, but, like, it's a platformer. They didn't reinvent the wheel.
It's a comedy. It's set up for success. It's a Mario game with a nostalgia love letter to PlayStation.
Whereas, like, I may not think Clair Obscur is the best game I've played, and I may not even think it's worth of a 10, but I look at that game and go, that deserves its nomination because it is fantastically well put together and takes risks that very few will. Mm-hmm. I think that should count for more for something than just the safe bet, which is what Donkey Kong Bonanza was, which is honestly, Hollow Knight Silksong kind of is because it's just more of the same. Like, most of those games are just more of the same. Is that a risk? No. In fact, the only one I can say is a risk is Hades 2, because Supergiant's never done a sequel before.
Once again, I'm coming to the defense of Kingdom Come Deliverance. That is also a big risk game in the sense of like, hey, want a hardcore, hard RPG. Like, if you want to save the game, you have to make a potion, I think. Like, you have to...
To which I played that game for about 3 hours and went, actually, no, I don't. I don't...
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's a risky thing. Like, they could have dumbed it down and made it, like, fully accessible, and they're like,
and
no,
you notice
we're
why
stick
I've
with
said
this.
that game the least of all my conundrums here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, it deserves to be on there, as well as... Expedition 33 for sure.
And then by that logic, people will be like, well, Kojima, like anything Kojima makes is a risk. I'm like, that doesn't count.
I think like I think for me, Donkey Kong Bonanza deserves to be in like the action adventure, like the adventure game, and it needs to be an innovative. I think it's really cool that it's a fully destructible environment, but it doesn't do anything exciting, right? Like it's not doing anything super unique, right? It's innovative that like, yeah, you can destroy the whole thing and destroy like planet and like,
yeah, like the way I look at Game of the Year is not more of the same, but just like top notch. Like to me, it's top notch. And also here's something that this game did that most don't.
I don't even think it's like it does something that something doesn't, the other ones don't, but for me, Game of the Year is, hey, this is a game that is hitting on all cylinders everywhere, like gameplay, narrative, art direction, and I'm not saying like graphics, but art direction, like it is nailing most of those areas, like firing on all cylinders, right?
I mean,
like,
everything. That's the thing.
Right.
It's like I said with game reviews, like people can have a different meaning for what a 10 is comparatively to others. What to me a Game of the Year is going to be different for what you think a Game of the Year is. So, at the end of the day,
that being said, Splinter Cell, Death Watch, best adaptation. Go vote. This is gonna be our campaign. If it wins, we're calling it our win.
And then lastly, because you had umbrage with something when we were talking before the show, I think Clair Obscur shouldn't be a best debut indie because it's not just because the studio's new shouldn't mean that it's a debut, because most of those devs are veterans. Like they've been doing this for a long time. For example, Blueprints. If Blueprints doesn't win that award, I don't even care. If Expedition wins 30, or if Expedition wins Game of the Year, people are going to say, well, it has to win all the other best awards, right? Sure, but it's not a debut indie. Blueprints was literally made by a guy who has never made a video game in his life before. That to me is a debut.
I disagree. I disagree because the idea of like debut means that like you have to have, it has to be your first game, like that then raises
I don't necessarily mean like it has to be like everyone's first game, but what I mean is like, for example, Keiji Inafune, the guy who made Mega Man. Let's say if Mighty Number 9 wasn't a giant pile of shit.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be a best debut indie because it's just the Mega Man creator in another studio making a Mega Man game.
I disagree because like my argument is that you're taking people who have talent for sure and you're putting them together for the first time, right? It's in the same way of like, I think of something like Audioslave, right? Like Audioslave is the idea where you're taking members of Rage Against the Machine and you're putting them with Chris Cornell. Yeah, they're all awesome and top of their game, but you don't necessarily know for sure that that's going to work out super well. Using the example, like think of like Velvet Revolver, right? Like that band. Like you have all these amazing musicians, but it kind of flopped. So just because you have all these powerhouses doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a success. You're taking these people who have different personalities, different skills, and they're not necessarily going to jive together. So that's why I think like debut studio or debut game like makes sense because sure they're powerhouses, they're good at what they do, but it can go south if it doesn't.
Well, and the reason that I have the conundrum is similar. Like we just have a difference of what we consider this to be for. When I look at debut, consider this is debut indie. There are so many indie games on the market, and so many of them are being done by people who have never had their foot in the door. If I am making a category called Best Debut Indie Game, I want that award to be specifically designed for people that have never had their voices shot. If you have worked like a lot of the Expedition 33's devs were former Ubisoft devs. They may have not been front and center, but they have been in the credits of many games that have had nominees before. When I look at what should be nominated for something that is a debut indie, I want it to go specifically to people who have not ever had a product that they've worked on being shown off. For example, Cocoon Similar story. It won Best Debut Indie. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. Same deal. That person has been in the industry for decades. I don't feel like that should qualify as a debut. It's more of a difference of opinion of what I want that to be for. Like, by the metrics of what they're doing it, yes, Expedition 33 is a debut indie game. What I want that to mean, though, is I want it to go towards people who don't get who have never had their voice heard.
Yeah.
Like, Balatro makes sense. Blueprints makes sense because those people have never had their voices heard before. Their ideas have never been shown before. So, like, I want it to be more of a category, like, I would even go a step further and just not even call it debut indie. I call best, like, I mean, I guess you have to call it debut indie because best indie game you've never heard of before doesn't really work very well, does it?
No, doesn't have the same ring.
But, like, I want it to be for literally games that no one has ever heard of these people or what they've worked on before. Like, if you can pull any one of the people off of Expedition 33 and see the things that they've worked on, you go, oh, I know that. Oh, I know that. Oh, I know that. And I'm talking the heads. So it's a different story if it's like a bunch of people underneath them. But like if the heads of this new studio have done X, Y, Z that you've heard of, I don't want them to be taking a spot up that somebody who has never made a game before that people have paid attention to have done.
Yeah.
Like I think it just become better utilized.
I feel like you're kind of making the argument like you want like next up and coming or next new talent.
Yeah, and considering that the indie industry is becoming so much more prevalent now, that is the perfect way to do it too. To show up like look at what this person did on their own, or look at what this team of 6 people that have never released a game before. Look what they did. Like that's what I see. Because let me just pull up the best debut indie game list from this year. Because there's a couple there that are good examples.
Are you talking like the nominations?
Yeah, because
I have it here. So
Blueprints and Desperate are the ones that are coming to mind. The other 3 shouldn't be there. Clair Obscur, Ubisoft devs. Dispatch, former Telltale devs. Megabonk pulled out for that very reason. That they said, I'm not a debut. I've done stuff under other studios. So even that developer said, I don't qualify. So we even have the precedence now. So like 2 out of those 5 games, by that logic, shouldn't be in that category. Now, the only reason I'm not mad about Dispatch is because I think it's the only award category it's nominated for, so I have to accept that. But
I stand on these principles, kind of.
Well, I'm also mad that no one from Dispatch got Best Performance, but that's because Clair Obscur was like, we're just going to take 4 out of the 6 at this point.
We'll take all of these.
Yeah, right. But yeah, no.
Except Troy Baker.
It's me just being semantic here, right?
Troy Baker has a standing spot on Best Actor. They just got to, like, what one do we fill him in for?
I mean, he did get put in for Indie, and I did vote for him.
Yeah.
As much as I was like, I originally thought, I'm like, okay, who from Expedition 33 am I picking? And then I saw Troy there and went, he was a really good fucking indie, though.
He was.
That was my deciding factor. I initially would have gone with Mael for Expedition 33, and then I stopped and went, he was a really good fucking indie, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my massive rant on how the Game Awards is wrong, and I should be in charge of it now. There we go.
Jeff, you know where to reach us.
You know what I don't need to be in charge of, though? Valve, because Gabe Newell knows what the fuck he's doing. And also just decided to be like, you know what? I'm doing really good with everything that I'm doing now. The Steam Deck's successful. I'm bored. Let's do 3 things all at the same time.
Launch another product. I need another yacht.
I mean, the Steam controller isn't really much to say about, so we're not really going to talk about all 3. I will say, though, I won't buy the Steam frame anytime soon. I'm not going to lie, though. As what it does, and they've already said it's going to be under 1,000, so it's going to be under some of its competitors. That looks like a really good, like, fucking VR headset for those that are into that. Especially with the idea that you can use it as, like, basically like an augmented reality. Like, you can just play your PC games, like, outside, like you're just, watching a TV outside. Like, I think that's really, really cool. And I think the fact, again, like, wireless and working well, like, if it does what it's supposed to, that's going to compete real well on that market.
Yeah. I think VR still remains a niche, and like, I don't know. I'm seeing Black Friday deals for like the PSVR 2, and I'm just like, no, I'm done. I don't think I care that much. And
I'm done until there's a wireless option that is affordable. Yeah. And maybe this is what that finally ends up being, especially because it's going to run on SteamOS, so it's specifically designed for gaming and nothing else. Yeah. So like, there's a good shot of it here that maybe somewhere down the road, if I really want to take a crack at it again, I can do it there. But like, I mean, the PSVR 2 is on my Amazon wish list, just in the odd case that somehow it's like under $200 like the VR 1 was.
there's a glitch in the Amazon and they just send it to you for free.
Well, no, PlayStation just immediately went with the VR. They're like, well, you know what? We need to get rid of these things, so fuck it here.
Yeah.
$99 at GameStop, go for it. I'm like, yeah, sure, fine. I guess I can do that. But like,
Yeah.
the Steam frame to me, like, I think it looks actually pretty decent for what it is. I think if it's priced well enough, I think it has actually a good shot to do like a bit of a dent in that niche market. It's just, again, I think that until the technology gets to a point where it's seamless, it looks like it actually like doesn't look like, a bubble on your fucking face, and it controls and the games for it don't actually feel like they're just really niche, like 2 to 4 hour properties. That's different. But with what it's doing, like I said, like even one of their things they showed off is you just playing Hades 2 outside, like just sitting on your porch. Like, I think that has a much better shot of making it more interesting to people than just a game that's like, or a headset that's just designed to play VR games only. Like, I think that's a whole different thing there. But it's always going to come down to, is it going to feel good on your head? Can you wear it for long periods of times? Does it work well? And is what you can do with it good enough? The fact that it's on Steam gives it the best shot because you don't have to deal with any library issues. So it'll be very curious to see how that goes. But realistically, we're here for the Steam machine.
Yeah.
Which, I'm not going to lie, if I didn't already have a super powerhouse PC and I was looking to get into the PC market, this seems like a really interesting starting point.
I want to reframe it, and I don't think that this is a gateway to the PC market. I think it's reverse. I think it's the idea of Steam coming to the console market.
Well,
right?
when I say like getting an entry point, I mean it's almost like they're consoleifying the PC market.
100%, like that's what they're doing. And we were talking in the Discord. You can find link tr.ee/PixelPlay Podcast. We were talking about this, like who is the Steam Deck or who's the Steam machine for? And everyone's like, why would you get this? Like you could just build your own PC. This is not going to be as powerful as a PC. That's not who it's designed for. The Steam machine is designed for me. It's designed for the console player, the person who doesn't have... Like, I go into Steam, and I think I have a total of 10 games, because I don't buy from Steam, right? Like, I am playing on console. I have an Xbox, I have a PlayStation, I have a Nintendo. I don't want to... Like, I don't have a gaming computer. I don't want to manage a gaming computer.
You just want something you can plug into your TV and just not have to worry about shit.
I have an hour to play video games. Like, I don't have time to open it up, figure out drivers. Why is this not optimized? How do I optimize it? I don't give a shit. What I want to do is I want to be able to say, I want to play this game. God forbid, like, the worst thing that's going to happen is it's going to have to update, which it's getting better about doing on its own. But, like, I want to play this game. Great. It opens up. It's playing at the best specs that it can play on that given system. And I think that's what the Steam machine, I'm hoping, is going to do. It's good.
Yeah, like the idea that I think they're going for is 1080p max setting 60 frame. I think that's what they're aiming for. They say it's going to be good for 4K. I think that's going to be a little suspect depending on the game. I think some will, but I think more often than not, you're going to be aiming for 1080p max settings, 60 frames per second.
But I think it's not even like the fact of what it can do, but I think it's the fact of having a standardization, right? That when I'm, building my game as a developer, I can then say, hey, I now have a setting for PlayStation, I have a setting for Xbox, and now there's a setting for Steam's machine.
Yeah,
right?
like you at least know like your benchmark for what like a 1080p max settings will look like.
That's the problem with PC, is that there's a whole wide gambit of what can it support.
Because essentially it's a rough translation, but like people are computing or comparing the GPU that they're putting in this machine to what is essentially an RX 7600, which is somewhere around like PlayStation 5, like base, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
For games today, 1080p, you will get pretty much what you need out of that.
Yeah. And like that's the thing. It's like Steam is now going to go for a whole new market in the console market. And start getting those players like me who have not bought from Steam.
Can we even go one step further? Are they just going after the Xbox market?
Well, I mean, that's the first target, right? But I mean, like, if you think about it, like, Sony and Microsoft now have to rethink their strategy, right? Like, Sony's releasing games on Steam, albeit a couple years late, but they're releasing them in the sense that, if I had a Steam box or a Steam machine, I can now technically play PlayStation, Xbox, and PC games. Like, I don't need...
Yeah, like you can wait for PlayStation games, but that's why I said Xbox, because Xbox is releasing them day one on PC.
That's the thing,
so,
right?
Like,
so
you're essentially looking at this as like almost like an Xbox replacement. Like if you're kind of annoyed with your Series X and like not having much to do with it, you could trade, you could sell it or trade it in or get as much value for you as you can, and you can get a Steam machine and you probably get almost the exact same experience, but now you have full reign of Valve storefront, which with just all of this massive library of stuff.
And like the aggressive sales that they have and everything, like
Yeah.
it's really interesting. I think this is going to be a huge shakeup. Like, I think this is going to be the new competition to PlayStation and what they're going to do.
If you're a disenfranchised console player, you should be paying attention to this machine right now.
Like, the only thing I don't like, is it going to make me leave PlayStation? No,
I don't think that's their goal either.
No, but they're now going for the secondary console, right? Like, they're arguing like, hey, you're gonna have a Nintendo, you're gonna have a PlayStation, and a Steam box.
Well, and
right?
like I said too, like anybody who's treating this like it's a PC is kind of doing it a disservice. But what it is actually going to do is it's going to get people to go, oh wow, I've missed a lot on the Valve side of it. Like the Steam storefront has so much shit, and if they ever happen to get way more disposable income down the line, they can go, shit, I could actually get a much better PC, which I can now use.
And I got the library.
Yeah, I can now use to like do way more than just, obviously do what the Steam machine's doing, and I already have this library that I've now built with a Steam machine. Like it's not a PC, but it is a gateway to it down the line if someone wants to go on the higher expense route. But if you don't, it's just become a console that has the Steam storefront. It would be like buying a PlayStation that can now access the entire PC gaming library. That's what it is.
Someone's gonna go to the Steam store and say, "Wow, there's a lot of shit on this thing." They're gonna say that both twice. Wow, there's a lot of shit in this. And, oh man, there's a lot of shit on this.
Yeah, but if you just sort by new on the PlayStation storefront, you'll see there is also a lot of shit.
100%. I'm not disagreeing with you.
You sort by new on the Switch store. There's a lot of shit.
Oh yeah. No, and I think like so for me, I think what Steam needs to do is needs to make this accessible, right? Like this needs to be affordable. That's the
thing.
Overcome.
Now, people are estimating it's probably going to be somewhere in the $500 US range, which would be pretty fair.
That's what I'm expecting.
Some have said they may even go risky because there is two models that they're looking at. There's going to be one that's a 512 gigabyte SSD and another that's 2. So they could take a risk with like the Steam Deck because the cheapest Steam Deck was $399 US. They could take a risk, and they even said outward that was going to cost them a lot of money, but they could get their foot in the door by putting this 512 one cheap at the $400 range and then have the other one at $600 with the 2 terabyte and say, hey, depending on how big the space you want, it may just go like the 500, 600 range. But if they take a shot in the dark and go, you know what, it's worth the risk because we may make that money in spades on the Steam storefront afterwards. Not to mention the controllers themselves are, I think, like $80 a pop. So if you want to go multiplayer, then you have that option too. What they may do is it may just be 500, but it includes a controller. That might be a fair thing with it too. But if on the console on its own is $400, if they want to go with the cheapest possible thing with the 512 version, that's a real good way to get a lot of people in the door early, and then you make your money back on the store.
Yeah.
So that it'll really be a decision on like how much of a hit they want to potentially take in hopes of making it back with the library. Because we also don't know if officially we'll never know like how much it's actually costing them to produce one by one. But given that the range that most people are kind of going in is the $500, $600 range, I don't think 500 is a bad thing. Even if it's the 512, I don't think 500 is a bad price. If the 512 starts at 600, then we have a different conversation. But if they go 500 as the base, then I think we're fine. If they really take the stab at 400, I think you have a real chance to take some prying eyes away from both Sony and Xbox right now. And even if you're a Nintendo, if you only own the Switch, and you've been looking to have a chance to play a lot of other games, especially because a lot of those third-party games don't run as well, here's your opportunity too, and it's not going to cost you nearly as much either. If you have a Switch and you're going to play most of your games there, well, here's $400, and here's the thing that maybe like when Nintendo hasn't had anything major on its storefront, oh, here's a couple of cheap indie games you can play, or you could like when the summer sale comes around, buy a couple of games for $20. There you go. Whenever you get around to it, it's gonna be interesting. Like I think it kind of blew my mind seeing what it was. I'm like, holy shit, they're making a console essentially.
100%. Like that's like I feel like it's funny. Xbox is kind of exiting stage left, and Steam is coming right up. Like Sony must just be like, son of a bitch.
It makes you wonder how long they've been planning this, and if they just went, if they knew something that we didn't about Xbox early on and said, guys, there's an opening coming.
Phil Spencer's having lunch with Gabe and be like, don't tell anybody this, but... And Gabe's like, don't worry, I won't tell anybody.
Yeah, and I mean, like, Valve has kind of quietly just, at any point, just decided, you know what? we're going to shake things up a little bit, and then boom, it happens. Like, did we all think the Steam Deck at start was going to be a big thing? I don't think we were all like, this might be a pretty cool thing, but we'll see how it goes. And sure enough, it killed. Like, it's changed how we look at handhelds now, and it's probably why the Nintendo Switch 2 is as chunky as it is now. Mm-hmm. So, like, this might be another... we've been talking about how, like, the console generation is looking up pretty bleak. Something like this might be able to revitalize it, because it's going to make manufacturers go, either we got to pull out, or we got to up our fucking game again.
Well, I don't even think it's that. I think it's now, like, not Nintendo. Nintendo's, like, doing its own little thing.
Aside from that.
They don't care. I think for Xbox and for PlayStation, they now go back to the drawing board. And Xbox is in a situation where they have to figure out, how do we remain relevant with the Steam machine?
Well, because the problem is like, we're hearing so many rumors that they're just looking to be high-end PCs next generation, to which I go, but that's not what it is. And now that Steam's coming in with this not high-end PC version of a console, now that's going to be on the market. Like, let's say PS6 and Xbox, if they do even make another console, let's say they both do, and they're both like the $800 price tags. Mm-hmm. How does that make Steam Machine look now in the eyes of console gamers?
Well, I think it comes back to the idea of performance, right? Like, if I'm getting a PS6 that surpasses, and this is the problem with the Steam Machine, if I get a PS6 that, is the next iteration of gaming, I'm getting that, 4K, 60 FPS, ray tracing, and I know the PS5 was promised that, it's the whole thing. But, like, the Steam Machine is coming out in a weird time where we're being told that the consoles are in their waning, years of, like, they're coming to the tail end, so we'll be seeing these new systems soon. That might be a detriment to the Steam Machine, but once again, this is coming back to the fact that the Steam Machine is not going to be a primary console, it'll be a secondary console. So I don't think it matters from that perspective. But I think one of the, I think one of the issues, like, with the Steam Machine is just, like, it doesn't need to be the most powerful system, right? People who want a powerful PC build powerful PCs. Like, no one's
I think that's why my argument of, like, Sony and Xbox potentially leaning into the high-end PC range with their consoles makes me go, why? That's not what you're supposed to be. And if that's what they want to go, well, then they're going to be in a rude awakening, because I don't know if people know this. The economy sucks and no one has the money. Yeah. That's why I'm asking the question, how will that look to the average gamer when the Steam Machine is, let's say they really go hard on the $400 option, but let's say it's $500, just as, like, the benchmark.
Yeah, let's say $5. I think $5 is the
if the new PS5 or PS6 and Xbox launch at $800 but Steam has a perfectly well serviceable 1080p 60 frame per second max settings console for $500, I know there are always going to be people that want the high end, but I think we need to start having the conversation. We don't need 4K 60 frame with ray tracing. We don't. Mm-hmm. And we're not seeing enough of a change in graphical fidelity to make it seem like it's necessary either. Yeah. I don't think it needs to be a concern at this point. If that's what Sony and Xbox are aiming for, I think they're doing that incorrectly. I think what needs to change now, personally, is the library itself. The industry does not need to upgrade its graphics. It needs to upgrade its quantity of games, because the industry right now is having a problem with there's not enough coming out. So if their goal is high-end PC, no offense to those guys, you're not going to get those people. They're just going to pony up even more for the high-end PC they want to build.
Well, this is what I was going to argue. Like, I think Sony is going in the right direction in that Sony is not trying to be a high-end PC. Sony's trying to be a high-end console, right? Like, that they're trying to be a powerful console. And for someone like me who doesn't want to get into that powerful PC build situation, that appeals to me, right? But I don't like where Xbox is like, hey, we're going to be a high-end PC. I don't want that, right?
Yeah, but again, I just keep coming back to, I don't think for either company an $800 console is the move.
I don't know if that's necessarily going to be a detractor. I think there's people who will buy it and stuff, but I think the one thing that raises the question, though, is with, like, the Steam Machine is, do we see Valve come back as a strong first-party developer? Like, do we see Valve, like, opening up their studios again and start making games? Like,
I don't think so. However, I would be remiss in not saying that after GTA 5's delay, people have been talking about how there is a really big announcement that is going to eclipse that's coming soon. And a lot of people have just immediately assumed that the only thing that could possibly be is Half-Life 3.
Yeah.
There's always the potential that they could. But Gabe has said, and I think some of the different developers in Valve have said before, they don't want to make something for the sake of making it, because if the moment's gone, they don't want to chase the moment that's already passed. So maybe they might get to a point where they go, well, let's just start making new IP. They might do that.
Yeah.
But I think personally, if I had to gauge like a vibes check on it, I don't think they need to, considering just how the PC gaming scene, both AAA, AA, and indie, already offer. I don't think they need to. Now, if they want to like once every few years like put a splash in there, sure, I guess they could, but I don't think it's like a mandatory requirement for it.
Well, I only ask just because, like, before with the Steam store, they didn't have to care whether or not they were selling consoles, right? Like, anyone who buys a computer, cool, you now have Steam. You're a potential Steam buyer. But with a Steam machine, you now need to justify, why am I buying a Steam machine, right? Like,
I don't think a game that they release is going to justify it. I mean, obviously, if a Half-Life 3 releases and it's only on PC, well, then there you go. There's your reason. But I would assume it's going to be on all platforms anyway, so really that's not going to sell the machine. To me, it just goes back to, if you are a console gamer that's wanted to dive into a lot of the stuff that the PC market hides behind, and especially when you see just how good the sales storefront is on Steam, this is your affordable way of doing it without having to spend $1,000+ on a PC. I don't see it from a library perspective in terms of what Valve needs to offer. I just think the storefront itself sells the console.
Yeah. I hear you. I just, like, I look at it in the sense of, like, we saw Xbox without any sort of, like, exclusives and what that did to them. But
they don't have that level of library.
Agreed.
I think what you're looking for is just the cherry on top, which I wouldn't be opposed to.
I think, like, they need to be like, why do I need a Steam machine? And once again, I'm talking to someone who is interested in this, but, like, if I have a PlayStation, if I have a Nintendo, you know, I get my exclusives there and I get my third parties there. If Steam is just offering me third party games, because let's be honest, a lot of the stuff that is on Steam, a lot of the major stuff, the big successes on Steam are on PC or are on console, right? So there's not, like, it then just becomes, hey, we have cheap sales and mods, like, those would be the two. Yeah,
and that's selling features, to me, like, honestly, like, if I didn't own a PC, that's a selling point to me. I do, like, there isn't really much of a PC game exclusivity apart from, like, strategy games, right? Like, there's not a lot of stuff, like maybe Counter-Strike, things like that, like League of Legends. Like, sure, maybe like those would count among it, but, like, generally speaking, there's not a lot of gatekeep behind PC. If it's on a console, it's on PC, and if it's on PC, generally speaking, it's on a console if it's big enough. But
no, but the counter argument though is that a lot of the times the stuff that is on console will come to PC, but comes at a later date, right? Like PlayStation exclusive, hell, like even GTA 6.
Yeah, but at this point, it's very few, and it's mostly AAA. If you are buying a PC, I'll even hot take it, you're not caring that much about AAA in comparison. Because most of what sells the best on PC is not AAA. So, because, like, you look at things like Valheim or Rust or stuff like that. It's not AAA. So I don't look at Steam Machine as trying to sell people to get off of their AAA consoles. It's getting them, like you said, as a secondary. I don't think it's here to divert attention. I think it's here to complement their attention.
Fair.
And to me, I don't think, like, again, like if a Half-Life 3 was announced, oh yeah, that'll sell it easily if they make it exclusive to it. Sure. But I don't think anything needs to sell it harder than what the Steam storefront already does. If you're a gamer on the PlayStation storefront, their sales are fucking atrocious. You probably see, like, you probably hear your friends talk about how they got X game that you have never seen below $40 on Sony for $25 on Steam. And you're mad.
Yep.
You're not getting the Steam machine because you don't want to play your PlayStation. You want the Steam machine because there are games on the fucking PlayStation that you can't afford, and you want to be able to play them sooner. I think, I think some people might be looking too deep into what it is. Guys, it's a cheap Steam console.
It's the same thing as the Xbox Series S.
And that's assuming it's cheap, by the way.
Yeah, it's just a way to get you into the store so that then you start spending money.
Yeah.
It's lowering the cost of entry to it's removing the gatekeeping of the store so that more people are buying from it.
And it's gatekeeping, or it's removing the gatekeepery, because most of the time, if you're going to get a PC that's going to play 1080p max at 60 frames, you're spending $1,000. Like, you're just going to have to spend $1,000. So if they do that for half the price tag, like let's say it's that $500 for the 512 hard drive, that's a huge selling point.
We'll have to see.
So, anything else you got? I think that covers it.
This has been an awesome episode. See, we don't need Chris anymore.
Well, that's because there was no one to sit on a fence. It was just, I think this. Well, I think this. Well, I think this. And then,
I think
Chris, what do you think? Well, I think you're both right.
Yeah, I see both arguments.
But yeah, no, I think this was a really good conversation. And, well, I mean, obviously people will let us know. I can't imagine somebody that, especially with the shorts, because now that we do a lot more shorts, we get way more comments and stuff. And apparently I'm always wrong. So cool. At least it gets attention. I guess I shouldn't care that much.
It's controversial. It gets people going.
Somebody's got to be the asshole, okay? But then somebody's also got to be right. And I can be both. That's easy. That's easy for me.
Hard pills to swallow.
But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. So if you're watching on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel for more content. And if you're listening on the audio platform, if you can give us a rating, do that there. Otherwise, you guys know all the drills. Share with all your friends. We got our link tree, as Kaylan mentioned earlier, linktr.ee/PixelPlay Podcast. Link to our Discord, link to our socials, link to our TikTok, where we post all our shorts there as well. Like I said, Friday side quests, I did my personal ballot for the Game Awards, so I went through those there. The site decided to work its best. It crashed at least once during that process, so, I did my best with it. But, it was a fun exercise, because I actually didn't know what most of the nominees were. I had a sense of what some of them were based on what was Game of the Year nominated, but I at least went through that there. I don't know if Kaylan or Chris, if they'll want to do one at some point. We'll probably maybe just talk it during the prediction side of things, but who knows. But yeah, Kaylan will be off next week, if I remember correctly.
2 weeks.
Next 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So
I think the plan is, I think next week we're gonna try. We haven't talked about this, but because we're going to the video game expo here in Toronto this weekend. I think let's try and see if we can record before I leave for vacation.
So we might have a shot of getting the full group next week, and then we'll see what happens.
Maybe we'll see. No promises, but if I'm not here next week, I'm gone for 2 weeks.
Okay. So then it'll just be me and Chris agreeing with me the entire time. I'm going to love those 2 episodes if that's the case. But yeah, otherwise, I assume, because I'm just pulling up my calendar just to make sure here. So if you're gone for 2 weeks, that probably means, and it would work out perfectly anyway, because the Game Awards would be in 2 days, we'll probably have our predictions episode on the 9th. Or on the 10th.
Yes.
I keep thinking when we record, because we all record Tuesdays, the episodes go up on the Wednesday. So that probably means that the day before the Game Awards we'll actually give our predictions based on assuming that we're all there that day. So, and also, point of order, I forgot to mention, we've moved the start times or the release times of the main episodes, like both the main show and the side quest. We're gonna start doing them at 4 p.m. now. The shorts are gonna start going around the noonish part, because, well, shorts seem to make more sense around lunchtime for people, whereas around 4 o'clock is when people start coming home. Probably more of a chance of being where they're able to pop in for an hour. So you'll start seeing the main ones posted 4 p.m. rather than noon Eastern. So just if you were a little bit thrown off by it not popping up last week, that's why. We just moved them up a little bit later in the day.
We'll be waiting for you when you get home.
But yeah, because our plan right now is like, if I have things working out the way I want them to, we have every Wednesday and Friday will be the main shows at 4, or the side quests, and either one of those will go to 4. And then every day we're trying to get enough shorts. We can post up one at noon and one at around 8. So that way, around lunchtime, you guys will have something you can sink your 90-second teeth into. And then as you're starting to wind down for the night, there's one too. That's kind of how we're trying to like sort of work things out, but it doesn't always end up working out that way. But it's kind of like we're trying different things to see how the algorithm works too, because Lord knows that the YouTube algorithm is like a fucking labyrinth. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's an angry bull. It's an angry bull to ride.
There are days where we have a video that does really well. I'm like, okay, well let's see what happens if we do something more like that, and then it does like 9, and we're like, oh, okay, well that didn't work. All right, well shit. All right, back to the drawing board, and then we'll just keep never figuring it out because that seems to be how it works. But hey, we hit 300 subs finally on YouTube, so you know what? That's a point of order either way. Now, we didn't plan a new serial episode for that. I don't know. I think we'll figure out something like 500, I think, at this point. But, you know.
That's a new stretch goal.
Yeah. But anyways, I'm rambling up for long enough. We're going to cut it off here. So
Nobody's still here, Adam. They've all logged off.
That's true. That's true. No one wants to hear my
Except
voice
you.
anymore.
We appreciate that you're still here.
Yeah.
You particular.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
Brad. Anyways, thank you so much for checking this week's episode. Take care. Bye-bye for now.